Welcome, everyone, to Teams Unleashed. This is the podcast where we explore the art and science of team coaching and how to truly unlock the power and human potential of teams. I'm your host, Spencer Horn, and I'm president of Team Coaching International. One of the biggest shifts that is happening in the coaching industry today is this: we are moving from coaching individuals to coaching teams as a system. And today, our amazing guest is Jane Zhang, who is founder and CEO of Talent Insight in Dusseldorf. She is an advanced, I got to talk about you before we talk, Jane. She's an advanced certified team coach. She is a master certified coach. She is a certified team performance coach and ORSC certified coach. She is, and she has a CPCC. I mean, I got a lot of alphabets behind your name here. And she has been a pioneer in team coaching with over 28 years of HR experience in HR management, people development, and executive coaching. And she specializes in helping leaders and teams unlock their potential, build trust, achieve sustainable success through team coaching. She has done this for so long. Founded this company in 2011, Talent Insights in China, and now you are based in Dusseldorf and working with European companies that are doing business in China. Let me just give our listeners a sense of some of the clients, the quality of the clients that you have worked with and are working with. Clients like BMW, Volvo, Dow, Daimler, Cummins, AMD, Kuiper, Pfizer, Merck, Bayer, Honeywell, Shell, Disney, Samsung. That's not even half the list of clients that you work with. And what that says, these are very, very high quality organizations. And they have chosen Jane and her organization to help them be their best. And that's what team coaching is all about, is to unlock the potential of people. And today we are specifically going to be talk about how one team transformed by changing DNA. And we're going to talk all about what is that DNA? How did they transform? Jane, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Spencer. And then when you list down all these customers, like you said, maybe I just part of them, and I feel like really just appreciate so much appreciation because that allows me to witness so many transformations in the teams.
It's really a gift, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
and then
almost like
it's
you feel emotional because of the work we get to do with human beings, and they're creating so many great projects and outcomes in the world, and you get to participate in that.
exactly, and then they really um, let us witness that because a lot of vulnerability, a lot of a hard time, a lot of transformation. So we are so honored. I mean, as team coach, I'm so honored to witness that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's get into that. So, first of all, for our listeners who don't know you, how did you get into coaching? Tell us a little bit about your career. You started in HR, and then in executive coaching, and eventually into team coaching. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, it's a long story. I was HR before, and then, as Chinese, we set goals. Goal very important for us, result orientated. So I set the goal is like, okay, now is Great China HR head, and the next step APAC, and then next step maybe go to corporate. So that's so called the career path I kind of designed by myself or for myself, and then but one day when I joined the CTI, co-active coaching, a powerful question kind of hit me like, who are you without your name card? And I think, oh,
You mean
who
without your
am I?
title, right? Without your
Without
without
the title, without, yeah. So
yeah.
who are you? I think, yeah, because I work with, all these technical people, I think engineers and all this, yeah, they have something, right? For HR, I think, oh yeah, I support them. A lot of time is just support them. And if you put me on the road. I don't know at that time who am I. So that started my reflection and also the question who I want to be. And at that time, CTI just came to China, and I was so lucky. I became the first batch of leaders for them, from front room leader, supervisor, and examiner. So that started my coaching journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was an individual that has was associated with CTI, and that was Phil Sandahl. He helped write a lot of their programs, their books, and their systems. And Phil, along with Alexis Phillips, they started a company 20 years ago by the name of
Yeah.
Team Coaching International, and they went to the ICF conference and said, "We want to present this idea of team coaching." And back
Yeah.
then, 20 years ago, it was not very well known. So, how did you get connected with Team Coaching International, making that transition from executive coach to team coach?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting question, and that's the question really bridged me, bridge Talent Insight and TCI Team Coaching International. At that time, Phil's book, Co-Active Coaching, is so famous, and then by Stephen Covey, he said this is the Bible for coaching, right? So at that time, my leader, my teacher in CTI kind of ask like, hey, there is Phil is looking for someone who can represent him, and then can start team coaching in China. And then at that time we just started like coaching and group coaching. And then also because I was HR before, I would think about how to bring coaching, such a wonderful tools, to corporate. And then we designed a program to focus on business. And then there is a call with Phil. I think it's like 90 minutes. We talked about this. I said, I just introduced my company. I said, I really want to really bring coaching, but not like fluffy parts. Sometimes the business leaders, they don't get it. And then also the culture piece, also, like how we can bridge that, and also really help the business leaders to see the effect, the powerfulness of coaching. And then Phil say, so at that moment, I think we really already clicked. And he said, in Europe, in US, so many people, they spend money, spend energy, time to learn coaching, but end up coaching as a hobby, or not really a career. So he thought about how can we bring this coaching, such a powerful coaching, to business and help the business to see the result and even can measure. And I said, wow, can measure. So so we start that conversation. And then from the, I think, value wise, and also like the deep level, like we really want to serve the business, and then also kind of help the business to see we can support them, and not, you cannot just cut the people. This half go to business, this half go to work. This is a whole person and a whole system, whole team. So at that point, I think we clicked. That was 2011, end of 2011, and start from 2012. We really bring, all this certification program to China. So that
Wow.
was the start.
You
Yeah.
met him 3 years before I met him. I was looking for my coactive. Oh, here it is. I was looking for this while you were talking, and that's the book that Phil helped to write with Laura Whitworth. And then they've written another book called Teams Unleashed, which is the name of our podcast. You said so many important things. I just want to highlight a few things. You know, in the very beginning of our podcast, we were getting a little bit emotional about the work, and people listening to that may have thought that was fluffy. But what is interesting when you talk about how you are so driven and results oriented, the reason why we get emotional is because we are helping people achieve real results. We are helping them make real changes in their lives and in their business. And I love the fact that you know, so many people say, well, I'm different at home than I am at work. No, what happens at work impacts you at home. What happens at home impacts you at work. So when you say we treat the whole person, it impacts every part of their life, and that is very very powerful. And it's not fluffy because it comes down to the fact that we believe teams exist for one purpose, and that's to produce results. It doesn't matter if it's a
Yeah.
nonprofit, that means you are creating more value for your constituents, your community. If it's government, same thing, services for the community. For profit is how do we create sustainable profitability so that companies continue to do the good work that they do. So it is very defined. And that's I think it really gets into DNA of an organization. And I love this metaphor that you use, and we'll get to that. But the DNA, what is the DNA of the organization that enables it to be successful or struggle? Right? I mean, that's what you're looking at there. I mean, we're looking at it very scientifically, almost like, right? I love that you bring in biology.
Yeah, exactly. I think we know a lot of tools. Like they talk about like how to make a team successful, different tools. What I like about TCI, about Phil and Alex, is what they created is this is so much. Like one side you can hold on something is really solid, you can measure, and you know what are the elements you need to look into, deep dive. And on the other side, it's so connected with people, with what you're thinking, with emotion, the soft part. So Phil always say, if team, I mean, team exists is to deliver results. If you really there is no result, and then the team doesn't need to exist. This sounds very hard, but on the other side, this is business. This is the hard truth. On the other side, like if you just drive KPI, 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 and many companies they doing that, they're still doing that, right? So the things is that people just feel the leader feels so exhausted, and the whole team also feel like really dry, right? So it's no fun to work. And then think about 24 hours. You work 8 hours, and this is one third of your life. And then with your eyes widely open, you consciously, and this is your life. So if we improve that part of life, the quality of that part of life, actually, we are really improve the quality of whole life. So I think the TCI part is really bring that part nicely within like result and also positivity. So productivity and positivity, both sides need to
That's
wave
right.
together.
And so what you're saying is if a company is too focused on productivity, then they shrivel up and can't sustain that. However, if they're too focused on positivity, on the relationships, then nothing is getting done, and they likewise aren't successful. But there has to be a balance, right? And so how do we measure the success? It's the relationships enable the work to go forward, and it's very very clear that you have done a great job in creating relationships with your clients. They obviously trust you, and they continue to hire talent insights to deliver your team coaching services and other services that you provide. So let's jump in if we can and talk about an example of how team coaching works. um, let's talk about a team that you worked with that was maybe having challenges. Do you, can you? I have a slide. Do you want me to put that up?
Yeah, maybe it's easy for people to look at. This is a company that we work with at that time. They're really facing a lot of challenges. So one thing is their market is declining, and also there's a lot of organization change, top-down organization change. And interesting enough, it's like maybe. You also encounter that when the organization change, they're not just the finalized change, in between of the change, something other things also kind of continuous adjust. It's like the plane, the aeroplane need to fly, and in between you need to repair the aeroplane. So it's a lot of change plus change. And at the same time is you will see the department because of matrix organization and some internal competition as well. So the local leaders, they report to a corporate. I think only, if I remember correct, only 4 people they have solid line reporting, the rest or a dot line reporting relationship. So a lot of KPI actually they fight with each other as well.
Uh-huh.
People and KPI.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of challenges there. Yeah. And so you can imagine like ambiguity is happening, and here is internal competition, so the morale is also not that high. So these are the difficulties when we work with them. Yeah.
So very, very, very challenging. And what's interesting is this is not unique to this organization, right? I mean, we know that statistically that less than 10% of teams around the world are what we call high performing. So most 90% of teams are experiencing some kinds of challenges, but these seem like big challenges. So yes, let's get what did the leaders think about the issue? What did they think the issue were?
Mm. At that time, the leader who engages is the head of the organization, and his goal is to deliver the total commercial target. So there is a like target he need to deliver. So means like people not reporting to him. Most of the people not reporting to him. Only four people, but he need to hold the team
Yeah.
together and deliver that particular result, right? So the challenge, you can imagine, the salespeople, they just want, safety stock there. However, the warehouse people, logistic people, they have their own thoughts, and like people, they just cannot work together. Really in aligned goal with aligned goal. And also on the other side for him is this is very obvious result. So if you just say one goal for him is to I can achieve my business result, and these people can work as a team. So this is his headache. Yeah.
That's great. And so and sometimes have you seen that the leader thinks the problem is different than it actually is?
Yeah, sometimes I think this leader quite is quite, how to say, advanced in terms of leadership. Is he really think there is a leadership issue also, not just
Yeah.
this KPI only the number, and also he not thinking it's just one particular person's issue. And then many of our client start the business like, hey, Jane, I think this one and that one, that department not working well. Maybe these two leaders have problem. Can you help me to fix them? And
Right.
sometimes they don't see their own problem. So, but for this leader, I think is quite, I say quite advanced means like he really see he is part of that as well. So he said, can you do something?
Isn't that wonderful?
And
And when you have a leader like that, then it's so
yeah.
much easier when because so much of the work that what we do is creating self-awareness, right? Not only for
Mhm.
the leader, but for the system. A team coach goes in to help the system really understand itself. And so we reveal the dynamics of the system to itself. And one of the ways that we do that is with metrics. One way it starts with metrics. Of course, that it's the skill of the coach that really reflects the system back to the leaders and to the people in the group. Yet this is where the I think the DNA comes in. Can you talk a little bit about when you looked deeper, what was really going on beneath the surface? What was happening beneath the surface?
Yeah. So I when we work with them, we start with some interviews before the workshop, and then we start to hear a lot of like, we can hear the message is like, I work so hard. I already try my 150% efforts, almost like that. So everyone trying hard, and then however the result is not good. And then this is the common how to say common message at that time. And then on the other side, we also the good thing is that people they want to see the change. On the other side, they feel like we have no other choices because we work so hard already, right? And then when we really go further and then not only just talk to them but also have the TDA assessment applied, and then we found out actually there were a few really key areas. We call it acupuncture point, or we say the DNA. You find the DNA where it's wrong, right? Really beneath the system. So what we found out is that they, for example, they have conflict. They don't know how to express that conflict because they are involve multi culture inside, and then sometimes they
Yeah,
need to talk to corporate and different culture, how to deliver the message and how to express your disagreement,
right.
and between department. So communication, constructive interaction. It sounds like very basic thing, communication, and then many 500 Fortune companies, they provide this kind of trainings. You never think about, yeah, communication, but actually communication is very key. But for them, especially, is constructive interaction, like how to express the different opinion in a healthy way.
how to disagree, right? How to have
How to
conflict.
yes, yes,
Jane,
and
I
then
had a
don't.
mentor. I'm sorry, I had a mentor that said the number one problem in business is communication.
Yeah,
Literally, that was what he said, because it's just
yeah.
almost always comes down to some kind of communication issue. You're so keep going. Yes,
Yeah. So like you said, without this basic thing, the if you don't debate, you don't argue healthily in a healthy way,
right.
then actually the alignment is not there. So in that sense, a lot of places is missing alignment. Even you work hard, but actually in a wrong way, right? People just use their strengths, their efforts in different way, quite distracted, and dilute a lot of efforts. And on the other side is that because they are so how to say, they're so proud of their own department. So in that sense, they work for them own. They work for the KPI. So they want to show like my department is great. So the accountability, they draw a very clear line. This is my territory. So in that sense, also you kind of see the symptom working cycle. Yeah. So these are also the thing. So with all this, trust is also score very low. So you can see the trust low. However, according to my experience, many team, they will show trust is low. However, you cannot just work on the trust. Like you just cannot force people like you love these people, right? Or you
Right.
trust these people. We cannot force. However, it takes time. So and team coaching is a journey. So when we discover all these areas, and then we kind of discuss with the leader, like what do you see, and then what's most urgent for you, and also the team, they kind of find out. The interesting thing for team coaching is not we as team coach to say, hey, you need to improve these 4 areas. Actually, when we talk to the head of the organization, we already sense there are some areas is you need to improve. However, in no use, they need to see these areas by themselves. Then they can reflect, and
Can I
then
show
they will
some of
make
those areas
efforts.
that you look at?
Yeah, please.
So this is some of the DNA. If you're watching this, that she's talking about, that they're measuring. So they're measuring. It looks like the productivity gene, right, for DNA, and it has team leadership, their decision making ability, their how accountable. You were talking about accountability, and it's so funny. When you know what came to mind when you were discussing that team, that they were proud of their results. It's like being on a sports team, and you know, and you did all your individual effort, but you lost as a team, but you're still proud because you know I got my goals, but the defense didn't do their job, but you still lost as a team, right? And that's the issue, is you can't win even, you know, if the whole team is losing.
Yeah. So at that time, when like the left brain, theoretically, they probably know, yeah, we need to win together, we need to achieve that.
Right.
And then part of the small self still so proud, you know what, I'm good,
Right.
that's the human side, right? So
But then
yeah.
so you're measuring these genes, are how
Mm,
are they using their resources, how are they setting goals, and how proactive are they. But on the other side, you're also measuring what you talked about, trust. And in some cases, it's taken them years to erode trust and to create an environment where trust is not thriving, where they may struggle with that constructive interaction, which is the disagreement that you talked about. And so,
yeah.
no wonder that they may have optimism issues, because they're giving all of this effort. Much of it is being dragged away by the fact that they don't communicate well, that they're working against each other, and so it's like they're putting all this effort, but it's not going into productive results. So you're measuring
Yeah.
each of these elements on the team, right?
Yes, we measure them, and then each like elements, we have some questions behind, and then but these are I like these we call DNA elements. It's so easy to map with the company, like the leadership competence. So easy.
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
no much jargon, like all difficult to understand. Very easy to understand, and also it's easy to kind of identify like which area you want to make a change, because this is then it's easy for team to own that, to have that ownership, to have that discussion. Otherwise they will rely on you, even you say a team coach, they just rely on you. You tell us
You're gonna
what
solve
should we do. You
exactly. I
solve the
love that.
problem, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're looking to you to
yeah,
save them when in fact you're
yeah.
coming in to teach them to save themselves.
Yeah, yeah, and we even don't teach when they the team coaching design
You
that
you
Phil
coach them.
origin. Yes, what he I think the beauty of that is like you came in without sensing you are in a team coaching. So just for example, instead of teach them, say, hey, you know what, best team they had these dimensions. Instead of doing that, just invite them to talk about, hey, what's your best experience about a great team in your past experience. Can be a football team, can be any team or previous team, or just the current team. So everyone, they're not this team but the other team, they hate each other. Sometimes merge acquisition team, they really don't like each other. You can see the gesture how they say it. However, when they come to this part, like talk about your own experience, the best experience, the peak experience about team, they feel so proud of that, and then easily they open themselves. So in that sense, we say, hey, what did you discover after hearing all these stories? Oh
You're so
yeah,
right.
there
The
was
the
a
word teach came out of
yeah.
my mouth, but it's not what we're doing. You're
Mm,
absolutely right. I mean, even when it comes to accountability, they
yeah,
struggle with it. We are not coming in and telling you here's how you hold each other accountable.
yeah,
We through coaching, we are creating awareness around what the lack of accountability looks like and if that's something they want to maintain and what they want to do, and they literally will learn to solve their own problems. So this brings up
yeah.
an interesting question for me. So you came into this organization, they had all these challenges, sometimes it took years for them to get there. How long does it take before team coaching starts producing results? And I'm hearing you say that you're going to start working on certain problems, the ones that are the biggest issues first, not all the problems, right? Because
Mm,
it's going to happen over time. But how long before you start seeing a shift as results start improving?
mm. This is a good question. So to answer, actually, there's two answers. One, to see the whole result, the whole journey, it took us 8 months, 8 to 10 months, actually. Yeah, sorry, 10 months. This case, 10 months.
That's not very long.
However, yeah, yeah. However, when we see the change after the first coaching session, it already show up.
Yeah.
So yeah, so give you one example. We have an exercise talk about me and we, right? So
Yes.
team coaching, we have a lot of topic, but one key line, the thread, let's say, is to move the individual me to a we. No, sometimes we say us, right? So this is something interesting when we talk about like who are you, like what you
Yeah.
brings you here, or why you are here. And then the other people will share, when they talk about me, it's so fluent. But when they talk about we, like, we are we. So they don't realize that is really we. And then they started to talk about, build on each other. Even after that simple exercise, they change their chair, and then move from me to we. They start to look at each other, create that eye contact, and then let the space inform them like what we are doing here. You guys are so excellent people, you receive headhunter calls every day. So what makes you still stay here? What you want to achieve with this particular group of people, in this at this stage? So they start to build on, and then there's moment, it just show up, like they find that spot, like why we are here. So they will create, we call team purpose, but it's not like a big thing, or every company
Yeah,
have
it's not what they
V
put on
and
their
VB.
website, right? No, it's how
No,
they
no,
decide to
no.
work together.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So just Monday, you open your eyes, you think that is meaningful. If I go and see this group of people, I work with them, we create something together, and we
Yeah.
create the legend together. So this is something, once that show up, not necessarily perfect words even. So you will sense the system kind of something changed. Yeah. So
I had to do that because I love what you said. We are going to create a legend. I
yeah.
think that is fantastic, and I love what you're saying. And my experience has been the same, Jane. Is that in a day to 2 days, you will see major shifts. The ongoing work is there to help fine tune, and it's it's not as heavy as that first 2 days, but it's these are touches that are just continuing to tweak and to keep that organizational shift happening. Um, you know, there's so what was it that you actually did to make the first shift with this team? What was the thing that started to make things change right away?
One thing I think is the from mindset wise, I think they realize while there is a we, suddenly they feel the linkage among each other. I think that's the one that they see the line which they didn't see before. Yeah, the connections. I think this is one, and they create that kind of belongings and then purpose. This is one. When we really started the team coaching for follow-up sessions, and each session we really go deeper and then connect with their daily work, and then what's the business, I mean, pain points for them. So for example, earlier I mentioned that their KPI fight with each other, right? So much. Of course, you can run a business meeting. You say, "Hey, what's your KPI? What my KPI?" And people just, they don't care. Like, you just submit your ones, and then they, but for this session they really start from the we point of view, and then also they challenge each other. But at that moment the challenge is really, so you can see people kind of open their heart to the listen, and then the other side willing to give input. So that's why sometimes we talk to business, like if you want to work on your strategy, work on other things, it's not that these people cannot create idea, but just their heart not there, the system, we say the system not ready yet. So better do team coaching first, and then you start with the, no, the business is discussion, that would be.
Such a good point. So I have a brand new coach. She just certified and hasn't even gone through the second part of team coaching certification. She went through what we call the master class, and great foundation for team coaching. And then there's a more to practice and deepen. But she is a very accomplished coach. She worked with GE for many years. She works with high net worth individuals. She just did her first diagnostic just this last week, and what she reported is, I mean, these are again high performing, high net worth individuals. They want to rush to solution. They want to rush to the strategy, don't they, Jane? They want to. We've got to. It's all about measurement and KPIs. And what you're saying is, well, hold on. If you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna continue to get the same results. You've got to
Mm.
slow down, and solve the fundamental, the foundational issues that are taking people's focus away from the work that you actually need them to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like what you said. This is really the pattern. Like, people, if it doesn't work, they just like work harder and faster,
Exactly.
and then
It's like
repeat
you
it.
said, they're tired. They're working 100% already, but that adds to the
Yeah,
hopelessness. How can we get any better? We can't work any harder.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
But
this,
you have a
and some,
process. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Um, like sometimes, so many companies now, especially from one country move to another country. For example, a Chinese company invest overseas in Europe, in other countries, and when things not coming, they think, how can I work harder, or I bring my own people. So
Ah,
this is something people all want to, stay in their own comfortable zone, right? So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So you have a
Mm.
process that you
Mhm.
run, uh,
Yeah.
and so do you want to describe this to our listeners?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, like we said, team coaching, we want to really help the team to deliver result. So how can we support them to have a really concrete, solid result? This process is like first at very beginning we have results review. So this result review is the TDA assessment we call team diagnostic analysis, is a kind of system
Right.
80 questions, and then this is will help you to see a snapshot, where are we now, because so often we just want to go where we want to go, and then we work on strategy, we work on a lot of things in future, and many companies fail not because of the future picture not clear, but also because the current situation is really not clear enough. It's like we drive, keying, the destination, the GPS. Without this A, the A have so many A, 14 people, senior team leader, they have 14 different A's, but you want to arrive the same B, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it
So
looks like through that team diagnostic that you identified 4 areas that really needed focus, because there are 14 elements of your DNA, right? I mean, 7
yeah.
of the productivity and 7 of the positivity. So what did you identify was the issue?
hmm Yeah. If you look at the process itself, is like the the team, they start to get together and then identify, have very good conversation, really qualified conversation, and then they identify, like we help them, of course team coach will ask a lot of questions, and then in the end, we kind of draw a conclusion, say, hey, we want to change this area, that area, and then as coach, we also help them to keep the balance. It's not everything we really rely on positivity or productivity, so half half. So for this case, one side they want to improve is accountability and alignment, and on the other side, we say the soft part, the positivity side is trust and constructive interaction. So this is help the team. Uh, like kind of work together in a nice way, and then how to build this trust, because normally people talk about trust a lot of time, they talk about it and they feel it, like this is important, and
But
then
it's
I
hard for them
know
to
it's
define, isn't it?
exactly, but it's how to work on it, how to define how much trust do I have now, and then, but I like the tool is like you help people identify, okay, the six or the five, so what's going on now, and what do you see that in your daily life, in your
Right.
daily work? And what's your expectation? And then what are the things happening? So help the team really go to the reality. And then also, this is so real. I mean, the conversation is really based on the facts. So this is something help the team also get internal thermometer. Like in future, they know, okay, so where are we now? And then also, for example, we will share with them, if you look at the team, whether they trust enough or not, just look at their meetings, if they everyone just report, how great I am, my department, and this and that, this is one team, right? And on the
Yes.
other side, some people, they just play computer and then maybe just pretend very busy, and then you just report your department and then I wait for my turn, right? Many companies run meeting like that. And on the other side, some company, the really great team, what they talk, you can listen to their warning is like, hey, look, here might be a potential risk. Yeah. Or I just found in my department and I want to alert you guys, and or I want to seek your input. Da, 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 right? So they will say, give some suggestions to other department, but not
So
necessary.
important. Think if you're a business leader right now listening to Jane, and one of your departments said, "Hey, we've really been taking a look at what's going on, and we have concerns. Would you be thrilled or would you be concerned? I'd be thrilled because now it's not only me that is focused on strategic thinking. There's
Yeah.
ownership throughout the entire organization. But Jane, what does it take for an organization to have that level of vulnerability?
Yeah. So on one side, I mean, there's a few different dimensions. One is that allow people to talk about this, like how what is trust and how important it is for them, right? So start with their life. I really like to connect with life and team coaching
I love it.
itself. So it's just so connected, right? When we talk about constructive interaction, the toxin thing, and then, one of the leader, they will print out this and then share with the family and then use cartoon, work with the kids. And then they share with the team, say, you know what, I did this. And other team members say, can you print it out? I also want that. Just imagine if your team leaders, they want to use that tool in their own family, and then that shows what kind of like openness or commitment. Definitely they will bring that into their work as well. So these are the things we will bring the link, help them understand. If you want to see trust and what symptom, what the things, if you have something, you talk to your friend, which one you will talk? You will talk about, oh, you change your car, you change your house, or you change whatever, you promote it, or you talk with someone like, you know what, I got some difficulty here. You know what? I really struggled with the position, or I have some problem with my marriage. So who is, what is trust? Which one, right? So in that sense, the senior leaders, I mean, they easily for them to understand, identify the difference between trust and then social trust and then really deep trust, right? Slowly bring in, and then we will also help them to we will introduce some activities. For these activities, normally, for each follow-up session, we will bring in one activity to help them to review themselves. For example, accountability, then we will bring some activity they didn't know. Oh, they are headquarter or not headquarter, but they try so hard, work with their own, and then, you know, then it turned out to be that you're too silo. But if you ask if they work in silo, of course not. I
No,
have big
it's so
heart.
funny. I love that
Yeah,
you're bringing this up. So, what did Phil always used to say, Jane? How a team does anything
his team, yeah,
is how
his
they
team
do
does
everything,
everything.
right? And so,
Yes,
all you have to do is introduce an activity, a game,
yeah.
and their real nature comes out.
Yeah, exactly. And then don't waste time to do warm up or ice break exercise. I mean, we do need warm up, do need ice break, but build in. So, for example, this follow up session is about accountability, and then you just design all the activities around that to review the reality. Okay, so where are they? So the people, if you say I'm silo, I don't want to say that, right? I don't see that, but not because of only people don't see that, but sometimes we also don't want to admit, or we have blind spot, who knows, right? But the activity itself will review this in such a nice way, and then people talk about it, and then normally we will say, what's your experience, what's your learning about
And then
yourself,
they
the
go, "Oh
pattern,
yeah,
and
that
bring to
does
work.
happen. That really does happen."
Yes,
And then
yes,
and then they
yes.
can begin to admit, "Oh yeah, that's exactly how it shows up."
Yeah,
Because we
yeah, yeah,
always we always want to make ourselves look better than we are. It's called the fundamental attribution error, right? We
yeah,
attribute
yeah,
other people's behavior as as having bad intentions, but we always have good intentions,
yeah,
and so we
yeah.
so we judge ourselves. In America, there's research, psychological research that says 90% of Americans think that they're excellent drivers, and
Oh,
40% of Americans think they're the best drivers that they know. So, and 80% of managers, according to Tomas Chamorro Premuzic, 80% of managers think that they're above average as managers. So we overestimate always, right, our
mhm,
impact.
mm,
I want to tell. I just want to go back to something that you said, and if you're listening to this and saying, "Why would we want to get into their personal life? Why would we want to focus on that?" it is so important. I want to illustrate a story. Uh, if you've heard of Clayton Christensen, he is the thought leader who passed away 3 years ago, I think. Harvard Business School professor. He was the individual who created the whole idea of disruptive technology, right? Disrupt your own business. He wrote the book, The Innovator's Dilemma. So the idea, if you don't disrupt your business, Blockbuster didn't go with the Netflix idea, and so they got replaced by Netflix. You have to disrupt your own business, and he was the one who created this. He created a company early in his career that did scientific research with MIT professors. So they were very advanced doing research, and they had a lab technician, a woman who was responsible for validating all of the research that was going on. They had like 34 researchers, PhDs, and so they were really, they didn't have a lot of resources. They only had one validator, and she was constantly fighting to keep her head above water. And every researcher thought their plan was the most important, right? They wanted to get their research validated
Yeah.
now. And they had a company party in July, and Clayton Christensen was looking at all these employees, and he saw this woman who was in charge of validating all of the research, and he saw her with her two daughters and her husband. And in his mind's eye, he envisioned her coming home feeling unappreciated, overworked, complained to that you didn't get it to me fast enough, and argued with because my research is more important than so and so's, and having to deal with all this pressure and not feeling a sense of self-worth. Remember, without the title, who are you, right? Coming home and walking in the door to those two daughters and that husband, how would she feel? What is the energy that she's bringing into that home? How does she wake up the next day, and how excited is she to go back to that work and fight that fight again with all those obnoxious, egotistical, researchers? And then he flipped it, and he envisioned her being appreciated, and those researchers thanking her for all her effort and understanding the stress and worry that she had, and letting her know how important she was to the organization, and how much the relationships that you were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
And now at the end of the day, going home, having experienced that type of work culture, how she felt coming home to those two daughters and that husband, how that whole interaction in that evening changed, and how that changed when she woke up in the morning, and how excited she was to go fight the fight the next day. You cannot separate your individual life from your work life. It's just not
Mhm.
possible. And so for those of you who are thinking, well, it's all about results. No. When you slow down and do a team diagnostic, you are doing the work of the business within that meeting. You are not just doing fluff, exactly what you said. You are actually moving the team forward and producing results in that diagnostic process.
Yeah, and I really see that. So, for example, we say the constructive interaction. Once they identify their own model, they will say, "Hey, actually, I will bring this to my family. I will talk to my wife. I have that toxin." So sometimes, doing team coaching also benefit for the family exactly. And then they also hold the picture they want to review, like. I'm this type. I'm really stone warning. I want you to remind me, so because this is sometimes awareness, that, but you cannot change, right? Because you inherited for so many years. But with your colleague, with your family, like you said, this is just so connected. And then you really can change as long as you open your heart. So sometimes we say team coaching not just give the tools. Maybe you look at the timeline, this is the tools, but if their heart not
Yeah.
open, if they're the quality of conversation is different, then it's totally different team coaching. Yeah.
Right.
So,
So they
yeah.
so they started making a shift in this process. You identified those four areas: trust, accountability, constructive interaction, and
Mm.
alignment. What started to happen when they saw that?
So this one, they even, I mean, when they identify, I mean, they identify five, six, and later on they debate, they vote, they debate, and then they say why this is more important. So this is interesting. And once they define that, we work one by one, and then they volunteer as leader for each topic. And then later on in the company, actually they spend specific time for follow up internally, and then for their managed meeting they also check back what's going on. In the end, they by especially for the I think it's a start from constructive interaction already start to change the first follow up, and then the KPI one is so connect with what their the pain points, their business pain. So that create a huge shift in corporate as well, how they see this team. So you can see, yeah, this slide is that overall productivity and positivity increased more than one is 16%, one is 70%, I think overall, but
Accountability increased
specifically, yeah.
29%.
Yes. For accountability, it's really increased a lot. And then 29% alignment, trust, and constructive interaction. And then you can see this circle actually is growing bigger. Even other areas also kind of expanded because they are so interconnected. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
if you think about this, so this is a polar diagram of the 14 elements that you measured, and you didn't just impact the four that were the biggest problem, you
Yeah.
impacted all of them. And so think about this as an artery, right? If the dotted area was where the blood flow was before, now we're releasing blood can actually flow to the organism. So for the same amount of effort, they're getting more results, more productivity out of the same exact team.
Mm.
I think this is such a cool diagram. And the measurable outcomes, what surprised you the most of those results?
Yeah, I mean, when we see these results is for the accountability, really at that time, they
Yeah.
just told us, they share with us, they say, hey, sometimes we were volunteers say what can I support you, anything I can contribute to you. In the past they just like have a fence, right? So this is my territory, but now they start to ask, offer their support, and then in many meetings they have that
Wow.
discussion and contribution. This totally different quality. We heard about that, but we when we see the number we say wow, this is something. And then especially the team, they said after this team coaching, we feel like we are so strong, we can do like nothing can defeat us, something like that. So what they said, and then later on, this company also experienced like merge acquisition, some changes in the organization. But the team leaders, they still talk about this team coaching, and then they bring this concept in their new organization. So we actually continue to serve them for different, even after they kind of separated. But then they bring these seeds, like team coaching seeds, into different organization because they see how team coaching bring the business change. Yeah.
And you just you do a good job in coaching when the client no longer needs you, right? I mean, our job is to help them to be productive without us, right? I mean, we are I'm going to use the word teaching them. We're coaching them to not need a coach. But
Yeah,
what
yeah. It's like
happens
mm,
but what happens is life happens, mergers happen, new companies, new leaders, new dynamics, and so because they've seen those results before, they call you again, Jane.
yeah.
We need talent insights.
Yeah. So later on, they actually find out the business numbers because what we show is just TDA, team diagnostic analysis, the difference between before and after. Like we
Right,
always
but
make
what
joke
happened to the
with,
profit and
yeah,
loss statement?
yeah. So how about the business? What's the impact for business? So they share with us the big change in terms of their business KPI as well. The customer complaint dropped like 75%,
Oh my
and
god.
then the delivery also has really shortened the time and accounts receivable. So a lot of numbers change. Yeah.
Here
So
are the results.
mm, mm,
71% decline in business, increase in delivery rate, 71%, and account receivable turnover was down almost 8%.
Yeah, yeah. And then this is the first time in the whole corporate for a team kind of win. I forgot the name. It's Global Premium. It's kind of a President Award. So they won that award not only because of one person or what, but this is because they build a team in such a way, and then they see the progress of this team. So because of this, they won the award. Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that so
yeah.
much. Well,
Yeah,
we have, I can't believe we've almost been talking for an
I
hour,
know,
Jane.
I know. Yeah, if you're interested, there are some interview from this leader because he really like team coaching, and then, yeah. So yeah, okay.
How,
Thank you.
if someone,
Mhm.
well, let's do a few more things. You actually put a slide together about TCI, and
Oh yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
you what did you want to say about this?
Yes, because I think we are, like work with this CTI starting from 2012. And however, CTI already this year, I think it's 20 years, 20,
20
just past
years
30
this
years.
year.
Yes, yes, yes. And then I like this because now I work with global companies. Sometimes they need coaches in different countries. So for us, we really know because we train the trainer, right? Train the coaches. So we know really the good coaches in different locations. And the other thing I love about this is because of the database. It's not just the individual, you check, you have assessment, but it's for the whole team at this moment, not our assumption. Sometimes we also receive some team diagnostic, but this is more like as based on assumption, how this group people work together, instead of just at this moment alive and real for this team. And then also we have a lot of data comparison. 6,000, more than 6,000 teams database there have before and
So
after.
it's not, this is something that's been going on for a long time. We have a lot of validated results.
Yes,
And
yes,
because of
yes.
your ongoing work with Team Coaching International, you are a trusted partner that is actually doing coaching certification. And which means you are delivering the level of professionalism for. There's a lot of team coaching programs out there that are really good. As a matter of fact, some of the TCI coaches are working for other programs, and they were taught by TCI. They learned how to do it, and what I know and what I'm hearing is that those programs are good. However, if you want to be a coach that is ready to go immediately work with clients, the certification that Talent Insight and Team Coaching International does is really where you want to go. And so you are actually doing a certification masterclass in Europe in September. Is that right?
Yeah, in September 22nd, I think. And that one is, again, I need to thanks for Phil, really honor Phil, because that was started many years ago, start the trial run in Shanghai, but now it's already 7 years, I think. So it's really bringing the real practice into the class. So first 3 days is for class training, and then a lot of cases study, and like a lab, bring the theory into the lab to practice. But the fourth day is to go to the real client. So we really, have the TDA, have the interview already done for you, but as a participant, you can go there to practice your coaching. And the last day, leaders will give you feedback. So that receive tremendous positive feedback on that. Yeah.
What a great format, and that is hugely valuable if you want to develop the skills to be a team coach, to have great coaches that are helping you and an environment where you can practice those skills and get feedback. And if you're any good coach wants to have that feedback to always get better. You put a slide up with, you talked about Phil, and here's Phil, and he and Alexis wrote a book called Teams Unleashed, and it looks like you've gotten that translated into Mandarin.
Yes.
And
Yeah, we translated into Mandarin, and then now it's second edition already.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic, and it's such a great book, and it really teaches the process of team coaching and what we do in our certification. So it's a great companion to the certification. Well, we love the partnership that we have with you at Talent Insights, and you're based in Europe and in Asia. Right now, you're in Dusseldorf, so it's afternoon, evening there. I'm so grateful, Jane, that you took some time. I have one more question for you, for our listeners, and then as we end, if you don't mind, if you would just stay on for a moment with me. First of all, I want to put this slide back up. If people want to get a hold of you and learn more about Talent Insights, your training, your services, your coaching certification, what's the best number to reach you here? I mean, I put it up on the screen here, but
Yeah, you can check the internet there. I mean, there is a link for our company and also my email address there. Yeah.
yeah, so jane.zhang at talentinsight-europe.com. We
Yeah.
also have talentinsight-europe.com, and
Mm-hmm.
that is a great place to go to learn about their courses, their certifications, and any other services that they have. Well, we are so grateful for the association and the great work that you have an incredible team. We didn't even talk about all uh, your incredible team coaches that you have working with you. But here's my question for you, Jane. Um, what is one of the biggest challenges that you have faced as a systems coach? And talk about, how did you navigate it? What shows up there's, it's not all, we talk about how wonderful it is, but sometimes there are real issues that show up in the team coaching environment. And where did trusting that team coaching international process make a difference?
Mm. I think for the this is need to back to BD part, business development, like how you get engaged, how you engage your customer. This is very important. Sometimes HR join our class, certification program, the class certification or training, right? So they
Yeah.
think, wow, team coaching is good, right? So they want to bring this into their company. So they see some leaders have problems, so they say, hey, can you do this for us? And then that is a good opportunity for you to start business, but be careful, not just start the business directly. You need to talk to the leader and then also get the sense whether the leader is on. So because many times is HR want to, sometimes not many times, sometimes HR want to kind of use us to fix some business leaders. That doesn't work. So that is a trap. At very beginning of our business, we did that, and then we experienced that. So try to avoid that trap. And then it's very important to have an open discussion with the business leaders and then sense whether they are at the right moment or not. Team coaching itself is great, but there is also team coaching moment.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. They're not ready for it, then they're not going to show up,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, and
leader
then you will,
and the leader will resist.
yes, they will pretend they're this is training, or they don't have really a good understanding of this, and then they will think this is sort of program HR arranged, and then I need to go through with it. So yeah, so
I think
at
that's
very
really
beginning.
good advice, especially so if you're a coach listening to this, you get a call from HR and you're so excited because you get to have an engagement, and we all want to be busy with work. The problem with that is it's a the engagement will end with that. If, however, you are doing it the right way, you are setting it up, you are taking the time to get the buy-in of that team leader, the results will be real. You will get more spin-off business over time from that because you did it the right way. I think that is brilliant, brilliant advice.
Mhm.
Jane, thank you so much for your generosity coming on. And I know that there's so many coaches in the team coaching. There's over 45 master certified coaches, and that the TCI's changed. I'd love for this community to stay in touch, and you've found how to reach Jane. She's got such a wealth of knowledge. We need to support each other as coaches. If you're thinking about certifying, please reach out to Team Coaching International or Team Insights, as you see there, for that certification. Jane, I hope to talk to you again soon. Hang on the line with me as we wrap up. And thank you, listeners. Please like and subscribe Teams Unleashed, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you very much.